Hello. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is that you are watching this video. I truly hope that some part of your day has felt fulfilling, that some part of your day you felt uplifted and you felt peace or joy. Sometimes joy can sit alongside peace, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you've had some extraordinarily eventful day. It could mean that your day was contented, you know, that there was a space of contentment that you had throughout your day. And in that space, you were able to feel peace. And alongside peace, you were able to feel a level of joy, like of satisfaction about your life. And so I hope that you've experienced some measure of that today. And if you have not, then my hope is that by the end of watching this video, that you would feel a little bit of peace, anticipation, thoughtfulness, and a step toward whatever direction your life is moving you in for this year, for this season, whatever season you're in. And so I'm very happy to talk with you today about friendships and the friendships of women. As you know, my heart is for women. I desire that women would live their fullest, most juiciest, most robust, deep, passionate, exciting lives. That's the space in which I thrive when I see other women entering into that energy. She is magnetic, and I love being around these kind of women. I find that the friendships that I have with these type of women just uplift me throughout the day. And so, as I've said before, and I'll continue to say, that some of us do not have those types of friendships where we do feel uplifted and energized and seen and understood and respected and all those words that are edifying to us. And so my hope is that you feel that way sometime throughout your day. And so that is exactly what I want to talk about today is friendship. Is friendship. So, if you've ever studied love or the different types of love, the Greek language has more definitions of what love is, separating the different types of love. Whereas in our English language, we just have love and like. But in the Greek, there are four different types of love that are traditionally expressed. And so there's and I know that some people can say there's more than four. There are four that I usually think about. And so one is agape love, one is eros love, one is familial love, which is storge, and then there is philia. Philia is the friendship love. And so I'm not going to talk about all the other ones that I just mentioned, not in this video, but as you know, this year, I've been called personally to study love. This is my year of love in 2026, and not just the external, superficial type of love, but the deep stuff, the true meaning, the capital L love is how I like to describe it. And so today I just want to talk about friendship love, philia love, and that kind of love that you have towards your friend. Someone who you can actually respect. There's a mutuality there. There's a reciprocity there. There's a understanding of who this person is. There's a level of freedom and joy and self-expression that you're able to have with this person who you call a friend, and you get to choose them. Unlike some of the other spaces in our lives where we don't necessarily get to choose the people who we are in communication with at any certain period of time, with your friend, you get to choose them. And so I want to talk about the type of friends that we're choosing, mainly because in this season of love and in this desire to be more loved by ourselves and to receive love for ourselves, who we spend time with, our friends, plays a huge role into how we're able to receive and to give love to ourselves. Our friends will truly mirror to us the type of relationship that we have with ourselves. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today with you because we're friends. And this friendship is one that should be uplifting. It should be one that makes you feel good or feel challenged in a good, healthy type of way, one that is self-reflective and life-giving. So filial love, the friendship type of love. Have you heard that word before? And what do you personally make out of it? So think about that. What I'll talk about a little bit today, and I'm a little more dressed up than normal today because I'm just coming from a work event and I haven't taken off my earrings yet. But anyway, so a couple years ago, I had an event. I hosted an event. I have a nonprofit that's called Wild Dandelion. And so at that event, I did like a game show. I did like a family feud. And one of the questions was, what do you consider a friend? How do you know that someone is a friend to you? Well, the answers that came up from the women who were playing this game, and it was so fun. There was a common thread between every answer that most of the women said. And I thought, that's exactly right. And it's very biblical. So in the Bible, I believe it's in the book of Romans, there's a verse, I don't know what verse it is, but the verse talks about how you are to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That really stuck with me. And as I thought about the type of friendships that I have, the type of women that I'm attracted to and I want to get to know, and I want to maintain a relationship with, it's the women who rejoice when I'm rejoicing and they mourn when I'm mourning. What does that mean? Well, I had a friend, past tense. I had a friend. And this friend was a friend of a friend, right? And so you know how you'll meet, you have a good friend, and they're like, hey, let me introduce you to my other friend. She's great, and everybody else thinks this friend is great. And it's all great. And you engage with this friend. Well, me and this other friend began to engage in different contexts outside of the friend who we had in common because I also wanted to befriend this woman. And it was okay. We were friends for quite some time, but I never felt a level of ease with her. I always felt like she was silently judging me. And this wasn't overt. She wasn't being mean to me. Um, she was really just kind of neutral. But the kicker and how I knew at one point that this person was not a friend to me is after so there was a series of events. This was over time. The more I started to love myself, the more I was able to recognize love coming toward me. So over the course of years, I was, constantly feeling just, uncomfortable with this friend, but I desired to be her friend. We had mutual friends, and so I didn't want to make any rifts in the friendship circle. I wanted to be, communal and accepted and accepting, just like most of us women want to be. But it had came to a point where I was sharing, anytime I was sharing something joyful or something happy that was happening in my life, something I was excited about, she would either criticize it or she would just be very neutral, just like, Whatever. Like, what are you so excited about?" And again, it wasn't covert. I mean, it wasn't overt. She wasn't like um, being angry or being mean, but I would say she was very dismissive of like, "What are you carrying on about?" And the same is true when there were sad things happening in my life, or disappointments or heartaches, all the types of things that happen. And again, she would either be dismissive or neutral. And at one point in our friendship, she and we were continuing, like I was there for her and engaging in whatever she was, having going on in her life. And it was a season of life where she was the only person there. And I had this joyous situation that was happening. And I wanted to share what was happening for me. And then when she met me with this neutrality, this dismissive, this blasé attitude, that shit hurt. That hurt my feelings. I was up here and I was so happy. And I'm sharing my joy with my friend. And I felt like, why am I even talking to you? Why are you even here? That was the beginning of me realizing that I needed to firm up my criteria for what a friend is. What actually is a friend? It's someone who can rejoice when I rejoice, and it's someone who can mourn when I mourn. It's a very basic principle. And yet, many of us don't have that kind of friendship. And so that's why I want to talk about it because in this season of self-love, if you can't engage with your friends in this way where they're able to edify you and uplift you and make you feel like a human, there's a mutual respect. There is a friendliness, there's a joy and there's choice. I want to emphasize choice because we actually do get to choose our friends. We get to choose who we want to be around. And so the way that I've chosen my friends, and I've lost some friends over the years by choice. By choice. I find that I'm drawn to women who are authentic, who can actually show up in their fullness without hiding. And that's another thing about this particular friend is that I always had to reserve myself or hold back something out of preservation because I knew that if I shared something that her look, her energy, or her response would be a low vibration. And I could feel that. I could feel that she was displeased with me. And even though she wasn't saying it verbally, everything in her energy spoke it, and that just made me sad. And I don't want to have to be sad when I am happy or when I am growing or I'm trying something new or I'm dating a new guy or I got a new job or my child is having a really hard time or I'm having a really hard time. Like, what is the point in friendship? That's my question. My question to you is what is the point in friendship if it isn't satisfying your soul in some way? So when I think about the types of friends and the types of women who I've engaged with over the years, these are women who I have a really beautiful, loving, supportive friendship group that I've had for many years. And occasionally there's a new member who gets added to this friend group. And for me, I find that I'm drawn to women who possess an authenticity. Number one, they can fully show up and own who they are, like in fullness. And they also have something about them that I don't fully possess. So there's one friend of mine, and she is so expressive. She just says the first thing that comes to her mind, and that is such the opposite of me. I do not. I'm more reserved in how I interact with people. I'm more observant in how I interact with people. I'm more introspective and introverted too, by the way. And so her energy is just so bright that I want to be around her. I love you because I never know what's going to come out of her mouth. And I'm like, she is so freaking awesome. I just want to hang out with her. And one of my other friends, she is so sweet. She she is just so just like you just want to squeeze her. You know how little babies you just want to pinch their cheeks. You're like, oh my God, you're so cute. She's like that. And this is how she naturally is. She can say something that would be otherwise deemed harsh, but she can say it in such a sweet way. And then she's always like, making sure that it's with such delicacy the way she expresses, her concern. And, she's just such a delicate, beautiful human being. And this is the total opposite of my other friend who will just, say whatever she wants to say. And then there's a gamut, right? There's a gamut of other friends that I have who have these different characteristics that I don't. And so I just find women who are operating in their full authenticity, not the wounded version of themselves, but the whole version of themselves, the one that can say, you know, um, that really hurt. The way you said that really hurt my feelings. Instead of cussing you out, you know? There are so many different types of friends, and maybe that works for you. Maybe you're the type of woman you're like, hey, just, tell me how it is, or tell me exactly like it is. And that's the thing, every woman has a different desire and a different disposition to where you find a friend who can kind of fill in those things that you're not. And you all complement one another. So when you hang out, it's so fun. You got all these different dynamics at play, but it's all authentic. And there's a genuine respect and admiration that you all have for one another. So it's just a beautiful thing to see. And so that's all I wanted to talk about today on this journey of self-love, because especially when you are trying to love yourself, there are a number, like when you start something new, you usually skew all the way to one side of the opposite of what you were previously doing. But a good friend can hold that space with you as you're transitioning, as you're growing, as you're learning more about yourself. That friend can hold that transitional phase with you. That's a good friend. But if you're going through something, a transition, and we're always going to be in transition. We are women, we are always changing, and our hormones will let us know that. If your good friends can't manage that with you, then what can they manage? What can they offer? Can you really relax around them? Can you fully show up with them? Do you have to put up a wall or a guard around yourself in order to enter into this conversation? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go see Shannon. And I know that Shannon gonna be tripping or whatever. Like whatever the thing is, Shannon is always on something. And you got to put up your guard or you got to, like prepare yourself to go deal with Shannon. You know who I'm talking about. So, are all your friends like that? Think about it. And so, I'll leave you with that just to take some time to evaluate where you are at this season in your life and what would be the most life-giving for you in your friendships. Because as you're trying to love yourself more, which means that you're not going to put up with as much crap anymore because you're going to be talking sweetly to yourself. You're more compassionate to yourself. You're more loving to yourself. You're more understanding. You're more forgiving. And you need that in your friendships as well, because that's where you get to practice this. And they can give you feedback, constructive feedback. Like, okay, I see you changing. Like last year, you would have been blah, 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 but this year, okay, I see you and I like what I see. Can your friend do that for you? Can you be that for your friend? So that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you found this encouraging in some way, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.